about his identity, his travel route, and even why he was headed to Nepal. But this is not an isolated case. Just months ago, the NIA arrested another American citizen, Matthew Aaron Van Dyke, along with 6 other Ukrainian nationals over alleged links with ethnic armed groups operating in Myanmar. So are these merely unrelated incidents, or do they point to a larger security challenge unfolding along India's sensitive borders? Why are foreign nationals with questionable backgrounds surfacing near strategic frontier regions? And are our border security agencies dealing with a new and evolving threat? Is this a coincidence or a growing pattern that India can no longer afford to ignore? Let's discuss this further with a set of panelists who have joined us on this broadcast. Ambassador Sushil Singhal, who's a former diplomat, Major General Sudhakarji, defense and geopolitical expert, RVS Mani, internal security expert. I welcome you all for this discussion, and I thank you for your time. Let me, in fact, start off this discussion with observations from the ambassador. Ambassador, when we're looking at such foreign nationals being caught and nabbed in such a sensitive frontier areas, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
Well, this, in my view, this kind of incidents cannot be termed as an accident. These seems to be a deliberate move, like this latest incident when this gentleman was caught in Maharajpur. He was not using the normal route. He was not carrying passport. Apparently, he was carrying some Chinese passport, and kind of, he was mobile also. He was carrying, and he was shifting his, in the claims, his story, keep changing his story. So it's clearly, it was, not a simple mistake or accident. It was all intentional. Why he was doing it, of course, is a big question mark. And the incident you referred to about the Myanmar, of course, that was an organized thing, because apparently they were giving some drone training also. So this raises concern because it's these incidents have happened in areas which are sensitive, be it on Nepal or be it on Myanmar. And Nepal route, we all know that this is being targeted, I would say, by even the Chinese national, Thai, Swiss, Pakistani. So, it looks like this criminal facilitators are, using this. They recognize this as a weak point where they can sort of, pass through and make use of it because we have a, visa-free regime in this with India, between India and Nepal. So we need to look at it. I think our agencies, I'm sure, must be looking at more deeply, but we need to, I think, take more strong action, ensuring that, these routes are closed because they are very sensitive to us and they have security implications for us. But I would say that, there are some reports saying that, maybe the foreign governments are involved, but at this moment, I would not go that far because the evidence is not there. So at the moment, to me at least, looks like that this is, the criminal elements and some facilitators who are using this. But at this, I don't see that, I would not say that, the governments are involved. It looks like more at a private level, of course, with some ramifications.
Okay, okay. Let me take that forward with Mr. Mani, who's also joining us on this discussion. Mr. Mani, then if you do not look at a country's involvement, then let's look at this increasing trend of, seeing these freelancers, these mercenaries, these people who have a history of, being active in combat zones, being found near India's porous borders. Do you think that this is a threat that India should now look at seriously? Like the ambassador was also saying, maybe we need more stringent measures near our porous borders in Nepal, near Myanmar.
Indeed, I entirely agree with the ambassador to the extent that challenges are increasing, especially on the porous borders, as he said, Nepal. Nepal border has always been a challenge, and reinforcements are really required. There are, of course, the Siliguri corridor, they are already having certain issues in the Nepal sector also, where the SSB and other border guarding forces will take care. Having said that, I would rather not go to the extent of saying that the government is not involved, because even in the fake currency notes which were smuggled, which was basically Nepal was one of the major routes through which, I'm taking you to the 2008 Dabariyaganj case and cases before that. Nepal was a epicenter from which the face currency printed in Pakistan used to be pumped into India. Like that, not only is fake currency, there are several challenges. Even there are cases of honey trapping groups coming from Nepal to Pakistan ISI, and Pakistan ISI has used its embassy in Kathmandu for a lot of other purposes than what it is intended to be. Yes, the issue arises again is now our coastal security has been much more strengthened and become. I think it is very difficult to use any other. So land route is the only possibility, with the possible fencing and reinforcement of borders in the Indo-Pakistan, Indo-Bangladesh area. Now the Myanmar route and the Nepal route are the few opportunities which are left open. So the higher level of these type of anti-India activities will be plowed through these areas. I would say plowed through these areas. Yes, we did catch an American and few Ukrainians were giving drone trainings in Mizoram and northeast and via Myanmar. Now this is another very important challenge, and the government needs to be looking at it with all open mind, because the way he is changing his version is he may not be working as a US government agent, but he could be a Chinese or some other country, and Korean person representing some other country.
Right.
So to say that the US government personally may not be involved, but who is he representing? Who is he working for? Because this is not a single individual just walking through somewhere and having no passport or a Chinese passport or X passport or Y passport. These are all too simple for that, and the way he is changing his version, the sinister designs are much more deeper than what it looks like. That is the reason. That is what I feel.
Absolutely,
so
absolutely.
Thank you.
Let me also rope in General Sudhakar ji on this. General Sudhakar, obviously a very complex case, because firstly we were looking at Matthew Aaron Van Dyke. He was involved. The NIA is trying to, piece together that puzzle, how he was in fact, hand in glove with the, rebels over there, how he was providing training to them. Now here is another individual, again an American, again with US Special Forces background, someone who claims to, have just lost his passport. He's changing his versions. There are also concerns and reports stating that he may have a Chinese passport. So obviously this does raise a lot of concerns, sir. Where are we going wrong in terms of, maintaining our security? Because why are such individuals cropping up on our borders, sir?
Okay, Shivani, good evening. Thank you for inviting me for your show, and my very deep regards and warm greetings to both the distinguished and esteemed co-panelists. Without being taken amiss, I'll just share a perspective. I have no intentions of contradicting anyone. They are very distinguished speakers. Any security issue must not be studied or examined in isolation. The moment you do in isolation, then you are heading for disaster. So what does it mean? What am I trying to indicate? I am trying to indicate that some dots have to be joined. What are the dots in the instant case? You yourself, in your question, in the preamble, you have brought out the name of Dyke, Matthew. 13th of March 2026, he was apprehended somewhere in Kolkata. On the same day, we had 6 Ukrainians, if I respect my memory, 6 Ukrainians either in Lucknow or in Delhi, they were also intercepted and apprehended. So on investigation, it was found that, like you rightly said, it's a correct expression by you, freelancers. Now, freelancers going to Myanmar, imparting training on drone technology and other things, and also floating around in places like Manipur. It's a trouble-torn area. And also, he was caught in Jammu and Kashmir, if I respect my memory. He was with either with Elon Musk, that antenna that he was floating around, and likewise. Plus, we need to see what is happening around the world. What is happening around the world? A deputy secretary of State Department of USA, he comes to attend the Raisina dialogue and he makes a statement that India will not be allowed by USA to become a second China. What else is happening? The trade deal. It has been hanging. I don't know. Our officials, they must be knowing every full stop and comma and every digit in the proposal by heart now. It has gone back and forth so many times, yet the deal is not final, and finally India has rejected. We'll wait for the right time to sign. It cannot be signed by compromising the aspiration and needs of people. India has got largest number of population. Earlier it was 42%. Now it is 45 to 50% people who are dependent on agriculture. When you compare this with USA 3%, Japan USA is 2%, Japan is 3%, UK and Germany is 1 and 2% most probably, and this is the dependence. So India is on the right track. We are taking right decisions at the right moment. But to reinforce my argument, I must, through your medium and platform, please allow me, let me complete this in between, kindly don't interfere. There is a book written by Robert D. Kaplan. That book name is Monsoon, the Indian Ocean and the Future of American Power. It is basically, Robert Kaplan is a geopolitician and foreign affairs expert. It was published in 2010, and that book explores how the Indian Ocean region is emerging as the central stage for global power, commerce, and future conflicts. Now, this book, if you go through and go into the background of this book, it is a research work, it is a PhD thesis. Extensive research has been carried out, and it has been established that in 21st century, the basket of global economy will gravitate towards the Indian Ocean. So when you say Indian Ocean, what does it mean? Centrally, India is at the center of it. And around India, there are few countries, our immediate neighborhood. Myanmar's name is also figuring in that. Tanzania, I can't justify how Tanzania's name, Indonesia's name is coming in that. All these countries, emerging economies are figuring in that. And also the book highlights that India is going to continue to retain its authority and dominance as far as the middle class population is concerned. As on today, in open source, they say 470 million. I am sharing the latest figure. It is more than 570 million Indians who have got the capability, the capacity to expend to the tune of $12 per day. China is around 778 million people, and India is going to overtake China by 2035. This is, I am not saying, it is the United Nations agency who's carried out a study on this. This is the market that India is potentially providing or offering to the world. And here lies the interest of United States of America, because no superpower will ever allow any emerging power to grow beyond a level or up to its feet. Similarly, what is China to USA? India also is to China. So there are intermingling or intersection of spheres of interest in the region. On one hand you have China, the other hand you have USA, the third is the sphere of Islamic fundamentalism. All these three have come and they're either converging at places or they are intersecting with each other. They're at crossroads of each other's interest. Now, second point I wish to highlight is Myanmar has to be seen with a very fine comb. Myanmar at one point in time was totally dependent on China because of pro-democratic movement, and lots of people are killed. Yeah, it was completely abandoned and embargoes and sanctions had been imposed on Myanmar, so much so by 2004 Myanmar started writing its own doctrine. Right. There is a paper and it says that it has to turn its side towards the Western alliances so as to benefit loan from IMF and World Bank. Therefore, in 2004 and 2011, Thein Sein was the president when they turned that bridge or the dam which was supposed to be built over Irrawaddy River, and a commitment had been made for $3 billion to China, that was actually forfeited. And since then is the turning point when USA is going to push back and come back in a big way. All these
Okay.
happening are because of some kind of a clandestine activity to
Okay.
push back China, to push back its dominance in Myanmar. Also the subcontinent, South Asia, that is India is at the center of it. There is a huge strategic rivalry going on. There are
All
forces
right.
inimic India's interest as also US's interest. Therefore, to contain, counter, and contest them effectively, you find these kind of freelancers floating around. India must take them seriously. We must actually tighten our guard. Back to
Right.
you, please.
All right. Point taken, General, and very well made. Let me, in fact, get in a quick word from Ambassador Singhal as well. Ambassador Singhal, I want to understand, there is this person. Apparently, he has, special forces background. We are already dealing with a man named Matthew Van Dyke, where the entire conversation has shifted onto his dietary habits rather than what he was doing. I want to understand, these people, will the truth ever come out? Because they are so good at hiding their passports, at making up a story. They lost in Thailand, they somehow traveled through the sea, crossed various international borders and came here. How will India, establish a link with such experts who are coming in from, such US, backgrounds, special forces background?
Certainly, Shivani, I completely agree with you and the assessment of General Sudhakar that, the things are changing very fast and India is at the center. But, we need to, of course, it's the job of our intelligence agencies to figure out what is happening. Because, if we start pointing fingers without evidence, then it becomes a problem. So the point I was making was that unless and until we have the evidence to link up, which is very difficult, let me tell you that, because, everything is shrouded, as you rightly pointed out, everything is shrouded in the secrecy, and there are layers and layers of secrecy. But we have to be very vigilant, as I said at the beginning, because these are sensitive areas. We have a lot of interest to protect. So we have to take care of that. But before we jump,
Ambassador, then I want to ask you: should we get, the various countries involved? Say, for example, US nationals are involved here. Should we maybe start a dialogue or a conversation in this direction?
Certainly, we already have a dialogue actually with them on the security issues and intelligence. We do that. But, if they are directly involved, obviously they will not come out unless we give them evidence. So that will be problem. But we already have very frank conversations, which never comes out, of course, in public. So with all the countries, major countries, we have the conversation going on. All the time we exchange information at the level. I think Mr. Shastri will be able to tell us more. But we do have dialogues, and we have a very frank conversation.
Okay. I apologize for interrupting you, sir. But Mr. Mani, I have 30 seconds to give you for your closing statements, and then General Sudhakar, 30 seconds to you as well.
Perfectly well said, Ambassador, that we have channels and bilateral mechanisms to talk to and engage with each other. That one point is there. But these isolated cases, whether this type of fishing expeditions in Indian security land, whether that could be because whether it is a joint working group, whether it is a MLAT or wherever it is, we have to show papers, evidences and all. So whether this can be covered as an agenda in the strategic dialogue or the joint working group is the basic question, because it will not sustain itself and it will allow the gentleman to walk free. So it will be better that he is put through because he was caught violating an Indian law, put him through the Indian thing, give him consular access. If at all it is established that he is a US citizen, if he is not having any passport, how will you establish that he is a US citizen or a Chinese citizen or a Korean citizen? We do not know. So that is the reason the establishment and the consular access will be available to him. All such benefit after only getting to know the truth with adequate evidence. Till that time, let us treat him as an Indian prisoner, Indian fugitive, Indian violator of Indian law, and handle him like any other criminal. Otherwise, we will ask it to Matthew Van Dyke, we will be talking about his diet more than the trial or interrogation.
Okay. General Sudhakar ji, 30 seconds on the dot, please.
Call out loudly, take the matter with USA boldly. India is no longer a country which it was in 1962 or 1947. If they can hold Panu and threaten India and couldn't care less about Kanishka disaster, and you must give it back. The foreign policy of India, it's about time, needs to be reframed, recalibrated. It is not strategic autonomy alone. We must actually adopt and insert a clause called a reciprocity. Reciprocity means if America behaves in a transactional manner,
Right.
India should also behave in a transactional manner.
All right.
If they hold to one of our persons who has been declared as a terrorist, if a person of this nature who's coming without any evidence and documents, take him to task. Don't take it lightly. If you lower your guards now, be prepared. There is a black swan event coming. Nobody, it is neither Pakistan nor China. For all you know, you may be shocked and surprised that the same America with whom we at times mollycoddle and try to, extend and our best of relationship with the USA, you will be shocked and surprised that same USA is planning for a disastrous action
All
against
right.
India.
All right. Unfortunately, I've run out of time, but thank you, General, Ambassador and Mr. Mani, for your valuable perspective on this issue. We are now shifting our focus to some breaking news coming in at this hour.